Hello, welcome to Microservices interview question series. So the next question is, what is service discovery? So in the design patterns, we have discussed service discovery is one of a pattern we use in microservices architecture. So in that we are going to discuss now like what is service discovery. So, service discovery is a crucial part of microservices architecture where it helps all the services to find and communicate with each other and dynamically without hard coding any kind of network properties, means like a port numbers, IP addresses, etc. So in microservices architecture, mostly the services are more dynamic. We need to scale up and scale down, and frequently the IP addresses will be changing. So the manual configuration is very error prone, and we need to overcome such situation like a centralized registry where all the services are getting registered and then their health checks are continuously monitored by this discovery service. So this discovery service feature can be implemented client side and as well as server side. Client side, what happened? Whenever the consumer application query for a service, first the registry will look for the target service, then immediately it calls it directly. That is client side implementation. If you go for a server side implementation, like let's say Kubernetes service and as well as in AWS like Elastic Load Balancer. If it is a server side implementation, first the client will make a request to the load balancer, then load balancer will fire a query to the service registry, and then finally it will find the registry application. So here in the service registry, the major components are Eureka service that register all the microservice applications. Then there is a service provider that itself register with a Eureka as a microservice application and to provide any services to the consumer applications. The third is the consumer application, which is also another microservice, which always will look into the registry for a specific service and get consumed. And here in the Eureka service, mainly like we are going to provide the health checks and continuous monitoring and getting registered by all the microservice application. There is another type of a registry services called as Consul. Consul service discovery is storing all the global properties required for microservice applications in a key value pairs. It is much faster, and these properties can be shared by number of microservices. And coming to in Kafka messaging system, like we use Zookeeper, also works like a registry service where it will coordinate all the producers and services, and the heavy traffic can be controlled by this registry service. So by looking into all these type of registry services, if you look into the benefits, okay, there is no hard coding of all the IP addresses and network properties. That is the main advantage, and it supports dynamic scaling, and as well as it supports the fault tolerance, and like it provides the client side load balancing. So let us look into an example into the hands-on. Like if you can see, to start creating with this discovery service application, create a Spring Boot application. Okay, generally we create a Spring Boot application by looking into start.spring.io. We create a basic Spring Boot project by selecting the required properties, language, and then version of the Spring Boot, and take the dependencies, which I'm going to show you here. So the dependency needed to create this discovery service application is Spring Cloud Starter Netflix Eureka Server. And here the Spring Cloud version we are using this 2024-01. So this is a dependency is needed. And coming to the application, what we create. So when you add this dependency in the Spring Initializer, by default we get this application. We need to add one annotation called Enable Eureka Server. This is going to make this as a registry service. And which port you wanted to run it, if a specific port you wanted to give, you can configure the port. Instance name, what is this registry name you want to give? Default is Eureka, default port is this. Other than this, if you wanted to run in another port, you can give it. These are the properties we need to give. And the other two properties required is, First is when we create a Eureka service registry service application, we need to register with Eureka should be false, because when we register provider service or consumer service, then it should be true. By default, it is true. That is the reason we need to explicitly make this property as a false. Fetch registry is also false. So that's all for this application to start this Eureka. Once this is ready, now we go to the Spring Boot dashboard. Then in the dashboard, we look into the services which have been configured. This is a Eureka service. Select it and then right click. You can say start. Once this Eureka service is getting started, here we can observe in the console, it is going to show you that the application is started, so and so port number 8761. Registry service. The other one we stop and only the Eureka service registry is getting executed. 8761 port, it gets started. Now if we go to the browser, go here, localhost 8761. So this is a Eureka dashboard which is called as a registry service. In this registry service, generally we can observe what are all the instances currently registered with Eureka. As of now, there is no instances are available. And what is the information about this particular service instance, like what is the available memory and the current memory utilization, which port it is running, how many replicas are created. So what is the status of this particular instance? Is this upon running or not? Which IP address is assigned to this Eureka registry service? Everything is available on this dashboard. And coming to how do we register any provider service application to this Eureka service discovery pattern. So in this discovery, the application is upon running, your service discovery is ready. Now we need to create a producer application. In the producer application, as usual, again you need to create another Spring Boot project. Here the dependency that we have to use is discovery client is a dependency. So for Eureka server, service discovery, Eureka server is a dependency. Here the dependency is Eureka client. So there is a difference, right? So this is a Eureka client is a dependency. It means while we create the Spring Boot project, so here the dependency that we need to select is there is a Eureka server, there is a Eureka discovery client. This is the thing we need to select. Okay, once if we select this, so we get this dependency. As usual, Spring Cloud version is there. This is the dependencies we need to add. Coming to the properties, as usual, service name we need to select. As it is going to be a provider service, we are giving the service name as producer or producer service, or whichever services you are going to provide. Let's say you are going to give a list of movie application, then movie service. You are going to provide various product application, then product service, right? Course service, like whatever the instance name you want to select, and the port number into which you wanted to run. And then now this is the provider service. It's a one of a microservice, has to be registered with the discovery service. For that purpose, this is a property is required. This is to register to Eureka. So we need to provide the URL of that Eureka, and then we should say service URL default zone. This is one property is required, and the rest of the properties are for other purpose. Okay, as of now it is not required. And coming to in your Spring Boot application, here you need to provide enable discovery client. Whereas for Eureka application, that was enable Eureka server. Here enable discovery client. And what are we going to do with this microservice application? We just need to provide certain services, right? Either we have to fetch some data from database and display into the browser, or else you have to do some operation, some resource management, either update a resource, create a resource, delete a resource, any service you need to provide. For that purpose, we write a REST controller. In the REST controller, the simple endpoint we are going to create called producer service that just returns, that fetches, it's a read-only operation saying that producer microservice. That's it. So this is a service we need to register with now Eureka. So registering with Eureka is nothing but this is a property we add, so it get registered. Now let us start this producer application. And we go to the dashboard, producer service, and then start. And in the dashboard itself, we could see the port number in which it is getting executed, 8081. If there are multiple instances are configured, then for each instance we have to give explicitly a separate port number. Now 8081, the service is getting registered. As soon as it get registered, now if we go to the dashboard, Eureka dashboard, earlier the number of instances were 0, means no instances are available. Now if you go and refresh, still it is saying no instances, means it is getting registered. Now if we go to the console, okay, producer service, right, we should able to see discovery client got registered. Okay, registration status 204 and 8081 is a port number, and the discovery client name is producer service. Now if we go to the dashboard and we register, and you can see the instance which is running. Here you can see the port number where it is running. Now we wanted to test whether service is working or not. Now we'll go to the port number 8081, localhost 8081, and then our endpoint name is producer service. Now we will be able to see the producer service. So this is how the number of microservices application we can register with the Eureka discovery service, and we will be able to monitor all the network properties and continuous health checks of this application, whether it is up and running or not. Due to some reason the service is down, right? Now who has to monitor that? Okay, so that purpose this service registry we are going to use. Now let's say I'm just stopping this service. Now immediately it got detected by your registry service. Now if you just look into this, now no instances are available. This is how this service discovery will be helpful to provide a proper communication without exposing the actual network properties like host name and then IP addresses, port numbers, and provide load balancing, provide security. Okay, so we are going to use this discovery service pattern. That's all for this discovery service microservice question. Okay, thank you. Keep learning. Bye, everyone.